As the mother of three young children, Mandy Arioto knows the challenges moms face. She's the president and CEO of Mothers of Preschoolers Internationally, also known as MOPS. And she says it's high time moms give themselves a break from being perfect. Welcome to the Harvest Show, Mandy.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
Okay, so while I was, preparing for this interview, I remember those days, with my daughter and just wanting to have it all together, not giving myself the grace to be a parent. And I looked into the mirror one day and I told God, this is a thankless job. And he told
Hmm.
me two words that transformed my parenting. He said, thank you. And that's what it's about, isn't it?
Wow.
That's what it's about, isn't it, Mandy?
It absolutely is. It is a thankless job on a daily basis. But when we look at the cumulative effect of our efforts every day, of the precision that we give to the details of mothering, that is when we see that we are raising kids who are going to change the world, and kids who will impact not only the communities that they live in, but their own families for generations. And so that, I think, is where we find the thank yous and the real meaning in mothering.
So in your project Starry you say that seeing grace in the unfolding constellation of life and motherhood, and you share these kind of, just very vulnerable stories about, being a parent. What are you trying to share with moms?
I want moms everywhere to know, one, that they aren't in it alone. I think so often as moms, we feel isolated. And so I just want to remind women that we all have our messy stories and that there can be beautiful things that come out of them. And then I also want to remind moms everywhere that sometimes we feel like if we haven't done something huge and important, that we haven't done anything at all. But I really feel like it's the little tiny dots of our lives that when we connect them, that we see something beautiful come from that. And so just reminding them that the details matter, that the efforts that they give to their family on a daily basis are significant, and that God believes in that, and that God really cheers us on as moms.
As I was reading, I was grateful for this. It's like you're giving moms permission not to be perfect. You don't have to strive to be perfect. There's no t-shirt at the end of the journey.
There's no prize. Yeah.
There's no prize. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think sometimes we strive for perfection, or we compare ourselves to everyone around us, feeling like, um, that there's some ultimate reward for that. And really, it's not. I actually really enjoy people who aren't perfect. And so I've had to remind myself of that when I have my tendencies of wanting to look like I have it all together, that I actually enjoy being around people who have a little mess in their lives, who, when I go over to their home, it's not perfectly decorated, or they have dishes in their sink. And that just gives me permission to let myself off the hook a little bit as well.
hmm And you have a perfect platform as the president and CEO of MOPS, Moms of Preschoolers International. Talk about the response and, how moms are responding to the message that you don't have to be perfect, that God's grace is sufficient for women today who are in that season of life of parenting.
Yeah, so MOPS is an organization that's in 40 countries around the world. And it's fascinating as I get to travel, this message resonates no matter where we live, and no matter what our life circumstances are, because we all want to be the best mom possible. And I think the best mom possible is recognizing that we don't have to be perfect in the details. And so it's such a privilege to be able to give women freedom in their mothering, and to help them recognize that God loves us as moms, even when we don't cut our kids' sandwiches into butterfly shapes and have clean socks every day. So,
Oh, I remember those days
yeah.
all too well. Kind of speak to this issue where we kind of divide our lives. Sometimes we just go all in, and as if our children aren't going to grow up. We know they're growing up. We're watching them every day. But then, when kids get older, it's like you put your own life on hold. Is that what God is calling us to do? Does he want us to separate the two, or just live, together and do it all at one time?
That's a great question. And I feel like the answer is different for every woman.
hmm
I think we all are on a different path, and some of us are called to unique circumstances when our kids are little, and maybe it's jumping back into the workforce or pursuing a calling that we feel like God is placing on our hearts or leading something at church. And then I think it looks different for each one of us. But what I feel like is most important is enjoying the season we're in fully, not feeling guilty like we should be doing something different or not feeling like we're enough for the current season we're in, and just really relishing and delighting in the goodness that is in front of us at the very moment. And then the second thing is, I think we just take little steps. If we feel like God is laying something on our soul, that we are feeling called to do something significant in the world, that we just take it the next step. And that's all that God really requires of us, is one brave next step, and that unfolds our journey before us.
Well, Mandy, I'm going to let you get back to your three little ones. Thank you so much for joining us here on Harvest.
Thanks for having me. So grateful.
To connect with Mandy, go to mandyarioto.com, or if you can't spell her last name, just go to harvest-tv.com for a link to her new project. It's called Starry-Eyed, Seeing Grace in the Unfolding Constellation of Life and Motherhood. Harvest continues in a moment.